If you get to youth, never give up in a life, you know. Stay focused. Keep your eyes on the prize. Enough of them want to see me demise. Put your ex within me at this time. Leave the rest of them by the wayside. Bad mind I kill them. They don't even realize. No. What for them I am my friend. Them can't make this shit capsize now. Him grow tough as a soldier, solid as a rock. He's a boulder, nurturing the youths, them for the future. So Andrew Cave if you vote for. It's hard to stay focused if you have to look over your shoulder. Live with purpose, man, not feel living on a gutter. No matter how it tough, say yes, so for your dollar. That's why I vote for Andrew, me a Cave, my brother.
Yes, St. Matthias, we are still here. Keep active, keep the energy up, and keep alive, because we have more to bring to you tonight. Our brother, our comrade, Andrew Cave, your future representative, he made some very valid points, because I grew up in the housing area too, and I could tell you I grew up in Wharton, so I could tell you that some people have not received their title deeds for these housing units that they have been paying rent for X amount of time for. And some people who stopped paying rent, not even the letter you get from National Housing to come in and sign any documents, persons have not received those things. And I am happy that Andrew Cave is willing to champion that issue for you, because every Barbadian deserves to earn a little piece of the rock. Not the foreign businessmen that coming in with all the money, but each and every local Barbadian deserves to own a piece of the rock. And let me just tell you this, and something that the party is also looking at. There was a time in Barbados when you could get a car loan probably at 3 or 4% and 3 years to pay back. Now if you go into a lending institution, they want you 9 years to pay back and 6 or 7 or 8 or 9% interest rate. And the unions who are supposed to be member friendly are at the top tier of that percentage. So what I'm saying to you people is that there are a lot of things in Barbados are just running on, not being controlled, no oversight, no government intervention, not even a person to speak out. We have to come all the way to St. Matthias to tell you that climate change does not cause potholes. Bad management, bad investment. No, it's a good investment for the road, but bad management, bad money management, bad allegedly, don't forget we got to qualify our statements, alleged money that is missing for houses that haven't been built. People, we are not here to tell you lies. We are not here to misrepresent any issue. We are here to tell you the truth tonight. And those title deeds, once the Democratic Labour Party takes power, because in 2008 the program was started. And it was doing good more than 10 years ago. It's 2026. 2 more years will be 20 years. The program was started. And still, some generations have passed and moved on, and title deeds to these housing units are still not being passed. That is an issue that I feel that Andrew Cave will champion for you, and the Democratic will see that that happens for you the next general election, people. Also, something was said that I like. You know, I like little jingles. We're not feeling the ease, we're feeling the squeeze. Oh gosh. We can put down your social media, write that on your Facebook and your Instagram. The question is, how are you feeling 7 years into this government? Are you feeling the same way? Are you feeling better off? Those are the questions we want you to ask. We are just providing the information for you, but we need you to ask if you're feeling comfortable. Lamb chops cost the same as 7 years ago. Things going up rapidly, faster than we can manage. Peer parts getting smaller, things going up. And then when you talk about an increase in wages, people, let me be real. Let me be real. Even if you work in the corner and you selling rapper and Fanta, and you get somebody to sell out rapper and Fanta for you, and they come and say, well, I want to increase some pay. What's the first thing you say? Man, I got my money budget for a certain way. I can't afford. So if that is a very small businessman, think of how other business people would think. So you can't just bum rush these things. Like Corey said, the Severance Pay Act was something the Democratic Labour Party came up with because we care about workers, right? The Maternity Leave Act is something the Democratic Labour Party came up with because we care about workers, we care about women, and we care about maternity leave. The Employment Rights Act is something that the Democratic Labour Party came up with and introduced because we do what? We care about workers. The party was founded on social democratic values, aka looking out for the working class and looking out for the small man. When Barrow took the reins of this party and he led us to independence, that was his focus. In St. John, he represented a lot of agriculture and farmers. He didn't represent the bankers. He didn't represent the lawyers. He represented the working man. But because he knew how important it was for the working persons to contribute to this society. Like David Thompson said, Barbados is not just an economy. It is a society. Our next speaker tonight, people, thank you for your patience. I'm grateful for your attitude. Our next speaker tonight, an attorney at law, a sports and youth advocate, a former teacher, someone that is accustomed working with the youth. Changing schedule, people. We're working diligently just to bring you the best of the best tonight. And this is the first of many spot meetings. Our next speaker, a former member of parliament, a former three-time member of parliament, a former minister of tourism, one of the best minister of tourism. The best minister of tourism, I stand corrected. I attended a conference the other day, and former Prime Minister Franda Stewart was speaking. Franda, you're rocking on your toes. And he said, when they took over the government, it was a worldwide financial crisis. And out of everybody, he said, Richard still had persons coming to Barbados. Richard still had hotels coming to Barbados willing to invest in an economic depression for the whole world. Yes, and tourists still coming to Barbados during that period of time. And for you to do that in an economic downturn, when there's a crunch on your pocket, where persons will be holding their disposable income a bit tighter. Our former Minister of Tourism had persons coming to Barbados. So he is dynamic. He is true, and he's committed to the persons of St. Michael South Central, where he helped over 500 families with a housing solution. He also partnered with schools, secondary primary school programs, and he also partnered with sports teams to ensure that players had their adequate kicks, football shoes. He wasn't only a minister of tourism in St. Michael South Central, he was a minister of the people. And that is the kind of ministers I like. Persons that get into power and don't forget where they come from, or they don't forget the persons that put them there. But without no further ado, let me introduce one of the best ministers of tourism in the whole of Barbados history on political life, Mr. Richard Seeley.
He's the greatest.
No matter what you're going through, count your blessings, yeah. Well, today is a new day. Give thanks to life. All praises to the Lord. Me see if I'm sanctified. Nah, make them stress me. Me a wall of vibe. With red boom, DJ Amun.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rashid, or Rashid as we call him for short. And good night to everyone. Good night to the good people of the St. Matthias housing area, but indeed everyone in the Medford Land area and St. Matthias area in general, everyone within earshot of this meeting. I'm here to support the candidacy of Andrew Cave. And I want to start out, of course, by endorsing him fully not only because of what you heard tonight when he spoke, but also because of the work that he has been doing in this community unceasingly since he first came out here a number of years ago. Now, sometimes, and this is a reality, your first outing, you're not always successful, but it is a real test of the measure of a politician when they can stick around. And Andrew Cave has done that, and you know what I'm saying is the case because he has been present in this community. He has been doing things in all of the communities that make up Christchurch West. Now, I, of course, have a vested interest in this matter. Christchurch West borders my constituency. It is the only Christchurch constituency that borders St. Michael's South Central. All of the other constituencies that are on the border of South Central are within St. Michael. And interestingly enough, all of those constituencies, I could name them if you want, St. Michael's South, St. Michael's Southeast, City of Bridgetown, St. Michael West, which one am I forgetting? St. Michael Central. All of those constituencies have at some stage been held by a Democratic Labour Party MP. Christchurch West, I think the time is now right for you to consider electing a Democratic Labour Party member of Parliament, and in Andrew Cave, you have the perfect person. Now, I know that some people get comfortable, but there's a reality, though. There is a reality that while all change does not mean progress, you can't get progress without change. I'm going to repeat that last part. You can't get progress without change, okay? You have tried the Barbados Labour Party time and time and time again. It's time for change, and change, in my view, that can result in progress in terms of voting for Andrew Cave. I've been in politics for a little while, and I will, of course, say, and this is speaking from the heart now, in addition to a few of us with some experience, the majority of the team that we are offering the people of Barbados in 2026 and beyond, including Andrew Cave, are ready for work. We have been doing a lot of work, not only in terms of the community work, which is extremely important, but also preparing yourselves for government, exchanging ideas and looking at what is possible and what is not necessarily possible, setting aims and putting the strategies in place or thinking about the strategies that a government under highly challenged circumstances, which will be the next government of Barbados, what they need to do or not do. I heard Sheed make reference to the fact that we recognize Barbados is more than an economy and it's a society. And I really want to speak to the residents of this Christchurch West constituency tonight. Because as I say, don't let's fool ourselves. I understand that sometimes you can get comfortable. But I do believe, as I said earlier, that in order to have progress, you have to have some change. And there's a need for change in Christchurch West. And I am going to help build that case for you. Because as I said, you've heard, Barbados is more than an economy, it's a society. Only this week, after nearly 8 years This government is focusing on the society, setting up a social empowerment agency. Now that's interesting. The first act upon getting into government, you remember when the Prime Minister had to call up Christina Lagarde, the then director of the International Monetary Fund, and deal with the economy elements. But now, 8 years later, they're getting into the society element. What does that tell you? It speaks to how they accord priority and why, as I say, if you want your quality of life, if you want your society to improve, in St. Matthias, in Medford Land, in Christchurch West, throughout the parish of Christchurch, throughout Barbados, then you have to look at change that will result in progress. And by the way, I too will want to associate myself with the party's official position of rubbishing the idea of branding an agency all of a sudden means improved service. And for the record, I'm just going to make a passing reference to this. Under the last government, we did, in fact, start the whole process of rationalizing all those welfare departments. The issue is not changing the name. The issue is how can you sever transgenerational poverty, like what we were doing with the IC Bridge program. That is what you have to do. You have to impact people where the rubber meets the road and not just have a PR exercise because elections are in the air. Because that's all that social empowerment agency is all about. You have a Ministry of People's Empowerment already. What you need a social empowerment agency for? You just need to do the work, get people off of welfare and those various programs and get them into the world of work where they can be independent and have a dignified life and make a meaningful contribution to the society. Coming right back to the Democratic Labour Party thinking. So I think that the statement that was made by our spokesman, I don't know if he's here tonight, Simon Clark. If he's here, he made an excellent statement at putting that whole thing in context. And by the way, I understand, and this is Andrew's night, but allow me to just depart from that theme. The reports coming out of St. Philip North are extremely positive. I understand Simon Clark is doing great, and we wish him well. If he's here tonight, keep up the good work, Simon. I've been getting some extremely good reports, and I look forward to also coming up there and mounting your platform, and indeed maybe even doing some door-to-door work with you, because we've been doing a lot of that as well, working as a team, bringing the message and the gospel of the Democratic Labour Party so that we can all take it in and, of course, bring meaningful change and improvement to the lives of the people of Barbados. But on the business of the society and what we have to do to improve the situation, when we talk about that, we still have to refer to the reality that all the agencies you establish, the question, the fundamental question still has to be how people feel as they go about their daily chores, as they go to work, as they go to church, as they visit family members. There is nobody in Barbados that can look me full in my face and tell me in this, the first month of 2026, they feel safer than they did in 2018. Not one person can tell me that. And the reality is that we have a government of which your MP is a senior minister, whatever that is, or the MP for this constituency, that has thrown its hands up in the air at dealing with this issue of crime, violent crime, crime related to gunplay. They don't have a clue. And it is so obvious, it is painfully obvious, that officers of the Barbados Police Service, what used to be the Royal Barbados Police Force, are frustrated by the lack of a concerted government policy towards dealing with this issue of crime and violent crime. Can't empower any society where people simply are worried for their well-being. People are even tentative about coming to public meetings. Could you imagine that? People want to know if meetings are being streamed because they're not sure what's going to happen at the meeting. They're not sure when they go back to their vehicle if it's going to be broken into. And I have to raise this issue. It is not about trying to politicize crime. It is, as I maintain, you can politicize the attempts to prevent crime and the efforts of a government because it's a multifaceted issue. And we haven't really heard anything from the government in that regard. And credit to the Democratic Labour Party under Ralph Thorne, and with some good work by a committee, including Verla de Pisa, we have actually come up with a multifaceted approach to deal with this issue of crime. And that speaks to a group of people who are not simply saying change for the sake of change, change because we have plans that are meaningful and plans that can impact your lives. As I said, you can't have progress without change. And it is, but we accept that all change might not be progress. But I'm proving to you, based on the work that we are doing, and based on what you're seeing out here in Christchurch West, that the change is indeed change that will result in progress. And I'm very proud to be associated with Andrew Cave, with Simon Clark, with all the young men that I know, in fact, the muscle of this team that I'm a part of. It's hard to imagine that I actually had my first outing in the last century, 1999. Feels like yesterday. But the reality is, time gets away from you. Don't worry, I got some of them in there that have been out there longer than me, including the Prime Minister. But the point is that we have been doing a lot of work in terms of preparing ourselves. So we can criticize the situation with crime because we have the receipts. We have been doing the thinking and the preparing and the planning and the writing. And we're not stopping there. We're not stopping there. Yes, your leader has asked a few of us, including myself, to speak to what we can do about the economic situation as well, too. And we got a lot of ideas that we are going to be putting in the manifesto and in the policy mix of the Democratic Labour Party that will show once again, a serious and sincere government in waiting. We are not going to insult the people of Barbados and say, vote for me and watch me. No, no, no. Vote for us because these are the programs and policies that we are looking at. I don't want to jump the gun, but some of the ideas would involve shifting the focus of our economic development from borrowing all the time and shifting it to more production. You cannot, there ain't nowhere in the world that is prosperous from borrowing. And we have taken this borrowing thing to ridiculous extremes. I can't even list all the different people that we've been borrowing from. The one example I like to use, and again, this is kind of personal for a number of reasons. The last government was criticized for not going to the International Monetary Fund. And we took a deliberate decision because there was advice that we should go, we took a deliberate decision that we would not mortgage the future of our children and our grandchildren by getting carried away with excessive borrowing. I remember being visited by a senior bank official, not going to call the bank, I'll just say it was Canadian-based, and he flew down here, and for some strange reason, he wanted to meet with me. Well, I should have known, inviting me to lunch. And when people like that invite you to lunch, it's not because they think you're hungry, you know. They invite you to lunch because they want to find out something or want to get information out of you. And he told me if I could convince the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister that go to the IMF, they would start to lend money to us once again. And these players on the capital markets are very influential, and they tend to track each other. So we could have gone to the IMF, but we chose not to do it. As I am speaking to you tonight, we owe the IMF just under 500 million US dollars. You understand? That is nearly 1 billion Barbados dollars. We owed them the grand sum of zero in 2018. And we now owe them $1 billion, and I ain't even getting into the rest. We can't run a country like that. How do you feel hearing that Barbados is one of the most indebted countries in the world? You can't feel good about that at all. And it is not the basis upon which you can have prosperity, on the basis on which you can continue to ensure the high quality of life. I mean, let us face it. The high level of debt service is going to mean that funds that normally go towards paying wages, funds that go towards other public services have to be diverted. As it is, the percentage is quite high, and it is only going to get higher. And that is going to mean that you're going to have to make some very tough decisions if you don't arrest this problem as soon as possible. We already taxed to the max. You can't increase taxes. So what you're going to do, you have to start cutting public services. Transfers to statutory corporations. This business about privatizing the transport board. If you look at the Article 4 consultations with the IMF, it's on the internet. You don't have to have any inside source or no document ain't got to fall off the back of no truck. Go on the IMF website and look at the Article 4 consultations consistently over the last number of years. And they have raised this issue of the transport board, as they raise the issue of the NHC, as they raise the issue of UE, in basically all the areas where we are transferring money from the consolidated fund. They feel that it's a little too much. And that speaks to the quality of life that we enjoy. And if that is going to be imperiled because of high levels of debt service, then it will erode again the quality of life that we enjoy. We have to return to a situation where we don't see borrowing as a national pastime, which it has become. I don't know if we have to get back industrious. Isn't that what our motto is? Pride and industry, not pride and borrowing. There's no pride in borrowing. We have to move away from that. And I know that some people will say, but we were always borrowing. But we kept it to a minimum. As I said, you see this? Zero. That's how much money we took from the IMF because we understood. And we could have borrowed from them easily because it works a bit like a credit union. You have your SDRs, your special drawing rights. They were there. And people said, why you don't dip into the IMF? We said, no. It's there as a lender of last resort. But of course, it became the lender of first resort. As I said, the day after this government came into office, we were talking to the the lady in charge of the IMF at the time, Miss Lagarde, French lady. But we have to get back to a situation where we can be more productive. There was a reason why we were so determined to move the hotel room stock from where it had been stuck for many years, from 5,000 to 7,000, and where it is now. And by the way, that framework that we left in place is the exact one that this government is following. They haven't changed anything about it. So that's good. At least they did one thing right. They didn't humbug the institutions that we set up, the marketing company, the BTI, the investment end of things, trying to broaden the room stock because we have to produce. We can't borrow our way out of a crisis. You can't borrow your way into prosperity. You have to produce. You have to engage in productive activity. That is the only way to make sure that all of you out here in St. Matthias and your children and your grandchildren can continue to enjoy the high quality of life that we have already or that we always enjoy. We have a situation where the public service is already under pressure, though. Look at the hospital. Now tell me why in 2026 somebody goes to A&E and has to wait 14 hours to be triaged. That is the initial encounter, you know. After you have that, you could still have to wait another 14 or 15 hours to be admitted or treated or whatever. This happens every single day and night. I am sorry, but climate change got to wait. Fix the A&E. Climate change got to wait, and the truth is, the targets that were set in 2014 at the Paris Convention, that the global temperature should only go up by 1.5 degrees. We gone past 3 degrees and heading hard. Nobody ain't listening to the Prime Minister, you know. Putin ain't listening to her. President Xi ain't listening to her. Trump ain't listening to her. Forget about that. You have a garrulous Minister of Foreign Affairs. He don't do much anyhow. Let him go and talk at the various fora and fix the A&E, fix the hospitals, fix the polyclinics, and deal with the schools as well. You know, I want to get it right. I want to get this right. The schools. And I know we have a primary school nearby. And we all know how proud we are of our school system. And there was a time, not too long ago actually, in 2016, that's 10 years ago, Barbados' school system. In 2016, Barbados ranked number 9 among the 11 best school systems in the world. Number 9 out of 11 in the world. Not in the region, not in the hemisphere, in the world. And if you think, and that ain't according to the Democratic Labour Party, or Richard Seeley, or Ronald Jones, that is according to the World Economic Forum, the Global Competitiveness Report. We were number 9 among 11 of the best school systems in the world. Where are we now? We're not even on the list at all. We ain't making the cut. We ain't troubling the scores at all now. We ain't making the list. We off the list. All kind of people come and pass us out. We not, well, as I said, they picked 11, we were 9. But we ain't even getting a pick now. Sincerely, right, yeah, that's right. That's the first 11. I don't know if we can make the second or the third 11. Barbados got to put on a bib now and sit on the sideline. You know? We might get a little piece of this emergency fielder if we're lucky. But the point is, and I'm making a serious point again, I'm making my case, and I know we have a lot of visitors here. I'm making my case for Andrew Cave and for the Democratic Labour Party in Christchurch West. It is time, I tell you, time for some change. You need change. You can't have progress without change. You've tried the same thing over and over and over and over again. It is not working. And you have that enthusiastic, articulate, handsome young man that spoke just now to be your next member of parliament. And that has to be our task and our mission. And I do believe that we will get it right. By the way, if you're interested in hearing, the same World Economic Forum, this is just for information purposes, and I spoke to this issue of crime in 2017. Barbados was named the safest country in the Caribbean in 2017. Right now, I'm speaking to you, and Toronto, a major North American city, had fewer murders in 2025 than Barbados did. And I'm not saying that with any glee or joy, because after all, it is a very painful thing to lose a loved one, and dare I say, just as painful for the perpetrators and their families as well too. Nobody benefits from this heinous crime that is going on. Families of the victims, families of the perpetrators, all of us, and indeed our major industry. Only recently we are hearing now that visitors are being impacted as well. And it was only a matter of time. And that is a fact. It is a fact that even independent sources, the United Nations Development Program, their Human Development Index, I remember speaking about this already, has fallen because we are not paying attention to the issues that matter to the lives of ordinary people. And I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it again, a social empowerment agency is not the answer. You have to think and come up with the right mix of policies that can impact and impact positively. And that's the only way that we can approach this thing. We gotta keep it real. And I am happy that I have had this opportunity to speak to you about some of these various realities. I want to spend a little time as well dealing with our workers, because I think that, again, this has to do with the issue of the society that we create. And the truth is, the Democratic Labour Party has always advocated on behalf of workers. Rashid made the point about the suite of legislation that was put in place to protect the rights of employers and to set a proper framework for wrongful dismissal, etc. And we have other lawyers here who can tell you about that in the tribunal and so that was established. Because we had a situation where as recently as 10 years ago, the law of the jungle obtained in terms of the recourse that workers had. We decided in the Democratic Labour Party that was not good enough. And I think it is nothing short of an abomination that you have a minister of labor who is complaining about the labor legislation being too pro-labor. You ever hear foolishness like that yet? A minister of labor says that the labor legislation favors the worker and not the employer. But I couldn't believe it when I saw that. But it helps you to understand where we have reached. And unfortunately, concomitant with that thinking, at a ministry as important as labor, you have the Barbados Workers Union that has seemingly lost all of their teeth and their claws and everything. And they're not standing up for the workers either. And we had a situation in Barbados where even if you weren't a member of the BWU or any union, you still knew that with strong unions advocating on your behalf, that you would, or you could always be assured that someone was fighting for you. I want to say to the workers tonight, don't worry about that Ministry of Labor that is not protecting you. Don't worry about the BWU that has lost its teeth. The Democratic Labour Party is not going to abandon the workers of this country. And we are working on several initiatives as well to make sure that they can continue to feed their families and to live in pride. We have to deal with the affordability crisis in Barbados. You say cost of living, but it's not only the supermarket. Talk to people trying to renovate their unit or their house. The hardware store is worse than the supermarket in terms of the prices. You can't get a contractor now that could give you a price that lasts longer than 15 or 20 days because they don't know what the prices are going to be when they go back to get their supplies. We have a serious affordability problem in Barbados, a cost of living crisis with housing, with transport, whether you own your own vehicle or you rely on public transport. It costs $3.50 in one direction to get on a bus. The cost of food, the cost of clothes, footwear, everything. And we are determined to address that. There are also some interesting initiatives with respect to tourism workers and other certain categories of workers where if you can't give people an increase or the type of increase you want, once you've put in a certain number of years, you can maybe get a concession with respect to education expenses for a child and whatnot. These are some of the initiatives that we are looking at with respect to the economic mix as well. So it's not only the initiatives on the crime fight, we are with you on cost of living as well. Andrew Cave is with you on the cost of living issue as well. And so I want the workers, I want their families to realize that yes, it's a little discouraging and a lot of Barbadians are frustrated. And I don't mind brothers and sisters from across the region finding work here in Barbados, but it can't be a situation where Bajans are being put on the periphery. We got to work together. I mean, well, after all. And nobody wants to discuss this issue. But we have seen a number of positions in various sectors, and we all know which ones they are, that we now see people from far-flung parts of the region occupying. And now I think that we need, again, to approach this issue with some maturity and some balance, and not just throwing open the doors because you want to be the most popular prime minister in CARICOM, but you have to think about how this impacts your local population. And honestly, if it is that this government and its leader don't have no time to deal with the fundamental issues that affect the people in St. Matthias and Christchurch West, then leave. Call the election and go about your business and let us find some young men, women, and people that we have in the Democratic Labour Party, like Andrew Cave, to focus on these communities, on the issues that matter in Barbados, and take it from there. You know, ladies and gentlemen, my time is up, but I just want to once again say how much of a joy it is for me, a genuine pleasure to be here to support Andrew Cave in his quest to continue his public service. I want to encourage and urge each one of you throughout this community and all the communities in Christchurch West to support the Democratic Labour Party. And those of you visiting, also, wherever you are, wherever you're going, make sure you're on the list, make sure your family and friends are on the list, and vote for the Democratic Labour Party. You can't have progress without change. Thank you.